Hi, we're just waiting for people. Hello. We're not starting until 8. But so happy y'all are here. We're just waiting for people. Hello. Just waiting for people to join.
Hi, Dr.
Hey!
Libby. How are
Hey!
you?
Good, how are you? Shana,
Excellent.
so excited to have you here.
Thank
You're
you.
like
Me
the
too.
best matchmaker ever. I'm so excited that we got to interview you, that we get to interview you tonight. So we're just waiting for people to join. It's 7:57. We're not supposed to start till 8. So we'll just hang
Yes.
out and just
Welcome
chat.
our friends.
Yeah, and if anybody has any questions for the matchmaker or for myself, please start submitting them and we'll collect them and make sure to answer all of your questions by the end of the talk. And yeah, so we're just gonna hang out. Please introduce yourself, I guess, if you want, on this chat down below. We're very excited. Anything to say,
Yes.
Shana?
Yeah, of course. Well, it's been an awesome day and I'm happy to be here with you guys. And I cannot wait to bring this amazing information also back to my other matchmaker friends.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think since you have such a good community of matchmakers in the United States and probably internationally, and since you're so good with kind of being a leader in that community, I think this is going to be really important to, bring back the information that I have, for you guys, but also it's so important for people that are interested in dating and, matchmaking, that are kind of single at this time, to know that this is something that, even though it's kind of one of those kind of like embarrassing things to talk about, and like a lot of people aren't very comfortable with it, it's becoming so much more common. And I love that it's now finally reflected within the dating scene of men and what they're looking for.
Oh, yeah. I've been posting about this on all my social media profiles for, since we announced it. And the response has been amazing. People are like, oh my God, thank you for doing this, bringing awareness, talking about an exceptionally important topic that really crosses, a lot of groups of everybody. So people are thanking me already, like, thanks for doing it. And I can't believe I'm on here with you, Dr. Libby. It's going to be awesome.
It's going to be great. I'm so excited to be here with you. I mean, I honestly always wanted to be a matchmaker, and I feel like I sort of do that. Not by actually matching people, but learning about people's stories and learning about how to create families for them. And a lot of single women come to me to freeze their eggs or to just use donor sperm.
Yeah.
So I just love the idea that you're creating couples. I'm helping create babies for single women or for couples, or single men or couples. So I love that we're in this, awesome field of just helping people have love in their life,
Absolutely. Perfectly said. Perfectly said.
Okay. It's still 8:00. I think we should still wait until a few minutes so we can have more people join.
All right. We'll give people a couple more minutes. And you know what? I love to connect with people that don't do exactly what I do, but we might have shared clients. And this is perfect. Like, this goes perfectly together. Fertility, egg freezing, and matchmaking, finding the love of your life. I mean, I couldn't think of a better collaboration besides the two of us.
I agree. We can send each other clients and patients. A lot of my, I don't really get men coming to me to like
Sure.
freeze their sperm, although that is definitely possible. And
Oh, okay.
I've had men ask about it all the
I
time.
never heard of it. Okay.
Yeah, no, you can totally do it. Men's sperm doesn't decline like women's sperm as
Okay.
much, but certainly there are things that occur to men's sperm as they age. And it just happens a little bit later than women. But it certainly happens, and a lot of men don't know about that.
Okay.
And you never know what kind of environmental exposures and toxins that we're taking in that can affect the sperm. And I have men that are super healthy, work out all the time, and they think everything's fine, and they come to me with their wife, and the problem that they have of infertility is that there's no sperm. So it's really important for men to know that it's not just women that are the problems with infertility. There's a lot of men that have issues with a lot of men.
Oh my
God.
God.
Of the time it's men. So
Dr. Libby, we'll have a second edition. Today we'll do egg freezing, and next time we'll talk about the importance of sperm and in matchmaking, and making those connections.
Yes.
That's amazing.
I mean, you probably, I have a lot of, single women that would be very interested in matchmaking. And I feel like matchmaking is such a great thing to use right now during COVID. Because, the apps are getting old, sort of, I feel like. And so it's nice to have, I'm sick of the apps, haven't met the right guy. Let me just go to a matchmaker and help me even more. So
honestly, and the days and I know we're going to touch on this again, but like even the days of like bumping into somebody at a grocery store are kind of not happening right now. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, whether it's organic or online.
You're not even meeting guys at bars anymore. I mean, right. And not that that's the best way to meet a guy anyways, but sure. But now it's like you got to go virtual. So if you're gonna spend your time, right now is a good time to freeze your eggs and to really invest the time in something like a matchmaker to find the right match too.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes. So post your questions. I'm seeing people say post your questions. And so what do you think?
I think well, it's 8:03. Yeah. I guess we can maybe at 8. Okay, we can just go ahead and get started. What do you think?
Yes, I think people are excited and ready, and you're gonna really drop some important knowledge on everyone. So let's do it.
I mean, I mean, you're the one that I think I'm super excited to hear what you have to say about matchmaking in the age of egg freezing and right now and COVID and everything. So yeah, it's gonna be great.
Sharing, I love it. All right.
Yes. Okay. So I'll go ahead and start by introducing myself. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Dr. Valerie Libby. I am a fertility specialist at Shady Grove Fertility in Atlanta, Georgia, and also on the medical advisory board for the Jewish Fertility Foundation, and that's who I'm representing today. I personally have frozen my eggs 4 times, so I'm really passionate about egg freezing. Especially the fact that I am 36 now and have frozen and not married. So this is a very important topic for me, and I love telling all of my friends, don't settle, freeze your eggs. So I wanted to just very briefly mention that the Jewish Fertility Foundation that I'm a member of is an amazing, honestly, foundation. And so many of my patients have been able to go through fertility treatments now that would not have been able to otherwise because of the financial support and emotional support that they provide. So just so everyone knows, JFF provides up to $15,000 fertility grants to to people that apply and qualify for their grants. It's amazing. They also provide emotional support as well. So it's an educational support. So it's a really amazing foundation. And on the medical advisory committee, I review all the applications and decide who should qualify to get the grants along with other doctors. So it's a really great foundation. So I'm really excited to talk to you, Shana, today.
Thank you.
All about egg freezing and matchmaking. So let's go ahead and get started. So please first tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm Shana Tibi. I have a master's of social work degree. I'm also a certified professional matchmaker, as well as a certified date and relationship coach. All those certifications are through the Matchmaking Institute, which is an incredible network that I'm a part of. So I'm going to bring all this knowledge back to them as well. And yeah, I'm currently in Sarasota, Florida, although I do have, like I mentioned, a network, and I do have clients throughout the country and even some overseas, especially in Israel, which is something we could touch on also, because their fertility treatments it's all inclusive.
Yeah.
You know, so that's a whole
true.
different thing. And yeah, and I got to know JFF even before it started. Alana Frank, the founder, is a dear friend of mine, and I JFF was like a thought when I knew her, when we became friends. And yeah, so it's so amazing to see this incredible organization bloom from, you know, her experience and her own passion and her own thoughts to bring on experts like you and to have, you know, this kind of reach. I'm so proud of JFF.
Yeah, me too. It's such an amazing organization. I'm so happy that she's brought you on as well. Okay, so that's great. We're really excited to talk to you and get this going.
So, Dr. Libby, let's kick this off by, like, I am nowhere near an expert, or even, I don't even know if I have the basic knowledge of what egg freezing is all about. So for people just regular like me, can you tell everybody a little bit about egg freezing, what it is, and take it away? You're the expert on this.
Yeah, definitely. I'm not only the medical expert, but also I've done it 4 times. So even though I know medically, you know, how egg freezing works, as a patient, having done it 4 times, the 4th time I still have to call the nurses and ask them a million questions. So it is a really hard thing to like understand and wrap your head around, the fact that like you have to inject yourself and mix all these medicines. And as a doctor having trouble, I totally get it. But every single difficulty that I experience and that all of my patients and friends experience is worth it all, because ultimately you get to freeze your eggs. So basically egg freezing, so as we get older, the number of eggs that we have inside of our ovaries declines with age. So when we're inside of our mom's belly, we have all the eggs we're ever going to have when we were a little baby growing. As we get older, that number decreases. We start with 6 million, and by the time we have our first period, we only have 400,000. Every day we lose 20 to 30 eggs a day. They just get reabsorbed. They die and get reabsorbed by our body, and we can never use them again. So what egg freezing does is, since that number declines with age, and it actually starts declining at a faster rate after the age of 35, what egg freezing does is it allows us to kind of freeze time and freeze our dating time as well. So it allows us to say, okay, you know what, I'm 35 or I'm 32 and I'm single and I have these 32-year-old eggs, and in a year, you know, I don't even know if I'll meet the right guy, but at least I have 32-year-old eggs. So it really freezes your dating game and kind of pauses time for you. So it's really awesome.
Yeah. A question just popped up that really goes right in with what you were saying. Somebody asked what's the latest age you should consider freezing your eggs?
Yeah. So I really think it depends on a lot of things. I typically say, you know, around the age of 40, we should kind of think about, you know, maybe 40, 41. It depends. I mean, we have to assess each person and see what their eggs look like. So I'm 36. Inside of my body, my eggs could look like a 26-year-old, or they could look like a 46-year-old or a 36-year-old. I don't really know until I do an assessment. So the assessment consists of 3 things: 2 blood tests and an ultrasound, an AMH, FSH, and an ultrasound to look at how many little follicles we can see at any given time. And those 3 things will tell us how well you're going to respond to the medicines, how many eggs we think you're going to get with one cycle, the quality of those eggs. So even if we get a lot of eggs from a 40-year-old, the quality is not going to be as good as the same number of eggs from a 35-year-old. It's just not. So you really need a lot of eggs to equal 1 baby, especially as we get older. Okay. So I don't want to do anything that's medically futile, meaning that we're putting the person under financial stress and also physical stress when I'm not going to get a result that has any chance of having a baby. But if there's any chance, we're freezing your eggs, you know? So I think an assessment is important. And once you get to the age of 40 or 41, it may not be the right avenue for you, but you should always get an assessment to see where you're at. So the egg freezing process, I kind of want to talk about
Yes.
too, because I know you asked me that. And I don't know if I fully answered that question. So basically, the egg freezing process is really not that. It seems scary. The first thing you have to do is make an appointment. And when do you make that appointment? And the answer is right now. There is no time better than right now to make an appointment with a fertility doctor to get your assessment. So that's the 2 blood tests and the ultrasound. They'll tell you where you're at with regards to your eggs. Even if you're 25, even if you're 28 and you have an amazing number of eggs, are you ready to have a child right now? What is your timeline like? When do you think you're going to be having children? Are you single? Are you married? Are you engaged? You have to think about all of those things. What's your future like? Are you financially stable now? Or do you think you will be maybe at 32? Those are the kind of things that you think about. I personally started at 28. Why? Why did I start so early? Well, I recognize that I'm very lucky that I knew about this field existed at the age of 28. Many 28-year-olds don't know that this field existed. I did because I was in medicine, and obviously I chose to pursue this field. My mom had menopause at the age of 43. That's pretty young. So I knew, and I just had this weird feeling that I was going to be one of those unlucky people that was obsessed with babies and obsessed with having a family, and I wasn't going to be able to. So I knew that I needed to look into my fertility, and my egg numbers weren't great. But even if they were perfect, I would have frozen my eggs because I was in a relationship, but I had no idea if we were going to get married, and I did not want to lose time. I wanted to make sure that no matter what, I didn't rush this relationship. I didn't marry the wrong guy for the wrong reasons, and I knew that that's why I wanted to freeze my eggs. So the process basically, I'm sorry.
I was just going to add to it because it fits right in. So somebody also wanted to know, once you investment, know how many egg retrievals you might need, and like why would, like you said, you froze your egg 4 times. Does sometimes that can happen in one time, or is it always multiple times? You know what I mean?
Okay, so your question is what? Wait, what was your question? So
the question was, are you able to know when you do the assessment?
Yeah, how many eggs you're gonna get. So like Shady Grove Fertility has a calculator of how many eggs we estimate someone's gonna get. That is an estimate. It is not 100%. And so the things that we plug into the calculator are their age, their AMH, which is one of those blood tests that I was saying, their FSH, another blood test, and their antral follicle count, the ultrasound. And we also calculate BMI, but it's not as significantly weighted. So your weight, your body weight. But all of those things together will spit out a number that should tell us about how many mature eggs we think we'll be able to freeze, because we only freeze mature eggs, and usually like 90% are mature. So yeah, it'll be an estimate, and then the doctor will make an educated guess based on all of those numbers as to what the best medication protocol is for you and what we think you'll respond best to. That guess may not be correct the first time. We do our best, but we also learn from each cycle. And even though, your numbers may tell us that you're going to do well with this, you may actually do better with a different type. So we have to hope that we choose the right thing on the first time, but sometimes we don't get it right. Anyways, so egg freezing process. So you go to the doctor, you get those numbers, they end up ordering all of your medicines, you get them shipped to your house, you get everything ready, you watch all these videos, you figure out exactly how to inject yourself. The day comes, you have your period, you call the office with the first day of your period. They say, okay, great, we'll schedule your first ultrasound and blood work. So you come in, get a vaginal ultrasound, they measure the number of follicles, the size and the number of follicles that you have in your ovaries, and they get a blood test, an estrogen level. And then you start your injections usually that night. So you inject yourself with a little injection in your belly, tiny, tiny little needle goes in your belly. We then bring you back in a couple of days to monitor if your egg started to respond. So we're looking at the growth of the eggs with the vaginal ultrasound, so the size, and also the estrogen level getting higher and higher. And we say, oh, okay, we need to increase or decrease your doses or add this medicine or take away this medicine or whatever. So every other day for about 7 to 12 days, you come in for ultrasound, for blood work and ultrasound monitoring, and we titrate your doses based on that. After those days, once we see that your eggs are a certain size and your estrogen is a certain level, we say, okay, you're ready for this final maturation trigger that will mature the eggs inside of the follicles but not release them. So then you'll know that about 36 hours later, so 2 days later, you'll come in the morning, nothing to eat or drink the night before. You'll come in the morning and you'll get in a gown. And at our clinic, we do it under IV anesthesia, so you'll be asleep and won't remember anything.
Okay.
You come in, you meet the anesthesiologist, you lay down on a bed, you go to sleep, you don't remember anything. You have no idea what happened. But what actually happens is we put an ultrasound probe in. It has a tiny little needle on the end of the ultrasound. It goes into each of the follicles that's grown, and each follicle is connected. And the needle is connected to suction tubing. The suction tubing, so we collapse each follicle, and in each follicle there should be an egg. All of that fluid goes into the tube. We put it into a little dish. We look at the dish under a microscope and we count, we got one egg from this follicle, one egg from this follicle. So we count the number of eggs that we have. And then you wake up, you have maybe a tiny bit of cramping that day. I was fine. We only give our patients Tylenol. So usually they're fine with just Tylenol. They don't want to go to work that day because they've had anesthesia, but the next day they can go back to work. They can do their regular things. I actually was a resident at the time and had to fit all this in with all of my residency stuff. Wow. And going on dates at night and injecting yourself in the middle of the date and going on trips to Charleston and leaving your medicine at the Airbnb and like having to refrigerate half your meds. I mean, no time is a good time. Residency, traveling, dating, there's always something, but your eggs are the youngest they're ever going to be right now. So really now is the best time. Anyway, so it takes about 1 to 2 weeks for the whole process. You can still go to work and everything. We can work around your schedule. And then, there will be one day that you'll have to take off. And we'll only know that day, like 2 days before that, the procedure. Okay. But we do that. We tell you how many eggs you got. And then if you don't get enough eggs that first time, you do it again.
Okay. That's why somebody would do it again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Got it.
Yeah.
And how many what's the goal? How many are you hoping to retrieve?
I think it depends on how many babies you want. So there's like calculators you can look at. And usually I tell people that if you're, if you have a good ovarian reserve and you're less than like 37, we want to get 20 or so eggs. If you're greater than 37, we want about 30 eggs. Okay. And that will hopefully be good enough to give you one live baby and maybe 2 or maybe 3, but
okay.
We are, so that's how many eggs.
Oh my God. We have to celebrate because somebody says long process, but so worth it. 12 weeks pregnant. Thanks to Dr. Libby.
Oh, that's so nice.
That's amazing. Yay. So good. Amazing. Those stories are
that's really
great
cool.
Job. Fantastic. That's really sweet. Well, that's great. And what, so after there's successful 1 or 2 times, however many it takes till you reach the goal of getting the eggs, then what happens?
Then you have a huge relief, a huge weight lifted off your shoulders, lifted off your shoulders. You can date and you don't have to settle for the next guy that comes around. I personally have this little calculator in my head for the amount of time that I gain from freezing my eggs. So if I hadn't frozen my eggs and I met the right guy tomorrow, I would be 36. Okay. Let's say all things are perfect. We get engaged in 6 months or whatever, and we get married in a year after that. That's a year and 6 months. Okay. Mm-hmm. And then we want 3 months or 4 months to like enjoy our very short marriage without kids. And then we get pregnant. So already it's 2 years later. Already my eggs are 38. And that makes my eggs older. My kids have more chance of having chromosomal abnormalities. Okay. So I have now gained, by freezing my eggs today, 2 to 3 years. So it basically puts me, for a male, I think, in 2 to 3 years younger than I really am, because ultimately that's what they're looking at for their children as well. Right. So I felt a huge weight lifted off my shoulders. I didn't feel like I needed to settle for the next guy and then my eggs were getting older. I mean, I think it's great. I still want to meet the right guy. I'm not going to like drag my feet until I'm 50, but I want to make the right decision. So,
right. Somebody asked before, what if I'm 39? Should I go ahead and freeze my eggs, or should I go it alone? What do you say to that person?
It's a really good question. I mean, honestly, like, I would do both. I would
Okay.
freeze some eggs. I would freeze some eggs real quick, like have as many eggs as you can frozen from 1 or 2 rounds, and then go ahead and use donor sperm. Because honestly, the right guy isn't going to care if you use donor sperm. The right guy isn't going to care if you took your fertility in control. The right guy is going to be there no matter what, and you're going to at least guarantee yourself a baby. You know?
Yeah.
So I think that, and my favorite patients are the single women that use donor sperm, because that's something that I look up to. That is amazing. I'm not there yet, but I keep thinking about it. Like, when am I going to be ready? When is that going to be the next decision? So I mean, I think that, like, it's always better to freeze embryos than to freeze eggs. So they just do a little bit better because there's less water in them. They're just stronger things to freeze. So if you can freeze eggs and go ahead and get pregnant with using donor sperm intrauterine insemination, I think that combination would be the best if you're really ready to be a mom right now on your own. If you're there, do it. I absolutely do it.
That's amazing. So it's really taking that into your own control and having your life, being a little bit more in control of how your life could play out.
Yes, absolutely.
That's amazing. That is amazing.
Okay, so
yes,
I'm going to go ahead and ask you questions now.
Yeah. Let's do
All right.
this. And this will be like a back and forth between us.
Okay. All right, Shana.
Welcome.
Tell us why egg freezing is such a hot topic in matchmaking.
Okay, first of all, it is. Okay, between me talking to clients and me speaking with other matchmakers, it comes up all the time. And here's why. A lot of the times what happens is that in traditional kind of heterosexual gender role relationships, the man thinks that he needs to look for a match 10 years younger than him. And it happens every day. I'm telling you, I talk to a matchmaker every day. We collaborate all the time on client to client and on good matches. And every day I have a similar conversation. Oh, he's 45, but he only wants to date up to 35. Every single day. So I feel like this is a super hot topic in matchmaking because we are going to educate people and expand the dating pool, both for men and women. I mean, you're not just locked into like who you can get based on your age. Right. You know, this is really going to expand that. Also, if you think about it, so this is kind of typical in the relationship style of a guy. And I'm not stereotyping men. This is just my experience as a matchmaker, okay? Guys can be different than this. But classically in matchmaking, the guy wants to have everything set. He wants to be more established in his career. He might want to own his home. He wants to have done all the things that makes him feel like the provider of the family, okay? And with that might take a guy into his 50s, until he's like really feeling that established kind of, power, his own power like that. Whereas, traditionally women, maybe by 30, they're like, oh, I have to have a baby. So that's why a lot of times the older men are looking for younger women and really glossing over amazing, amazing women that are age appropriate for them. So that's one of the real hot topics we talk about. Yeah. And honestly, I think that
what are men's response to that? What do they say when you say that? And also, I think you've told me many times that men are bringing this up now and asking you about, have women frozen their eggs. But what are men's response when you tell them about egg freezing and that sort of thing when they're not aware of it? What's their response to that?
I think it's starting first with the women where they're realizing that this is something they can do or they have done already. And I think with men, it's still something that they're discovering as a possibility for a woman and her own fertility and her, her health and wellness. So I would say I have less men asking me like, oh, hey, did she freeze her eggs? You know, like that's, but I think this is going to be the start of men even asking that. But I will say that when I'm doing, you know, intake for a prospective client, men or women, let's say for a woman, and she's, I don't know, let's just say early 30s, mid 30s, hasn't had a, you know, a baby, interested in meeting that guy for marriage and children. I have added that into my intake. Have you frozen your eggs? Have you considered it?
And that's something that you share with the men.
I mean, I do. Well, you know, it's kind of case by case, but yes, it is a piece of information about that. It's a piece of information that can make that match more viable. You know what I mean?
Right. I think you should absolutely tell the men that. And I mean, as long as the female's okay with it, but I think absolutely.
That was the piece I meant. Yeah. So if the client is like, yeah, let them know. Like I have my eggs frozen.
So when you do, I mean, you have now observed your male clients responding to, you know, to your applications of women. When they see that, or when you tell them that, like, this lady, she may be, you know, a little bit above your age range, but she froze her eggs when she was 30, and what is their response? Have their responses been?
Exactly. Yeah. It's still a learning curve is what I'm saying, but I think they're more apt to take that introduction. If I say, listen, she's 37. She's amazing. She has her career in order. She froze her eggs when she was 30. You know, like, this is an amazing candidate for you. And here's why. I think they would be much more likely to say, okay, I'll meet her. You know, not only, I mean, yes, I'm the matchmaker, but I'm doing PR, I'm editing, you know, I'm presenting my client in the best light possible. So if I have that added piece of information that a woman froze her eggs at an early age, that only represents them, you know, in a better light. And that really just opens up the dating pool for somebody, you know, who wants to have marriage and kids, somebody who, listen, I mean, if we're comparing apples to apples, and somebody had their eggs frozen and somebody didn't, I think I could get that person that high caliber date, you know, better.
So, okay, I want to reiterate that one more time.
Yes.
If you present two different women to a potential male that wants to be matched, that is, you know, 35, and one woman, and they're the exact same, you know, same, beautiful, smart, whatever. Okay. One woman froze her eggs at 30, and one woman never froze her eggs, does not have any eggs frozen. What, on average, would your male clients be more interested in the woman that froze her eggs?
I would say yes. For a man that wants marriage and kids, yes.
Right.
Yes,
so if they don't want that, then they're probably not the right guy anyway.
That's a different topic, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they would.
Okay,
and
cool. I mean, I think that's huge. You know, that gives you an advantage. So, you know, we're all looking for, you know, the advantages that we'll get in the dating game, and I think this gives you one. You know, especially for the right guy that you're looking for. Okay.
Absolutely.
So I know everyone's dying to ask. How do you put on your profile, on your dating profile? Where do you put it? Do you put it on your dating profile? What type of dating profiles would you recommend putting on that you have frozen your eggs? And when do you tell the guy when you're dating them that you froze your eggs or whatever? Like, what do you think?
I love this question. I mean, definitely on a matchmaking profile, yes, big letters. I froze my eggs, you know, because for matchmaking, I'm the one that's presenting, you know, to the client or to another matchmaker. So if we're talking about public dating profiles, you know, all the main ones, all the ones that everybody knows, I guess my recommendation would be, you know, if
you mean like the apps, like the swiping apps?
The apps, yeah. So the apps
like Tinder.
Yeah, so I would say all of those. Yes, I would say if you're on Tinder, I don't think you need to lead with that, you know, in terms of did I freeze my eggs or not? Because I don't know that that's exactly what people are looking for on that particular site. It can happen. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
You can meet that amazing guy on Tinder, but I would say more of the traditional dating sites like the eHarmonies and Match, where you can really get to know somebody a little bit more. I would put that in. I really would. But I always tell people, you know, one thing that I can offer to people if they don't want 100% matchmaking, I can offer them a matchmaker makeover for their public dating profiles.
Ooh, I like
yeah,
that.
it's a fun service.
Yeah.
and what
It's
and
really
what
funny.
it is funny. What I do is I like to tell people to be specific, and there's kind of a little rhyme. I'll tell you, it's specific is terrific.
Ooh.
So yeah, so I tell them that. Because let's say everybody wants somebody tall, dark, and handsome. You know what I mean? But I would want you to be more specific. Or funny. That's a good one. Funny. What's funny? Different things are funny to different people. So I would also say, if you're saying that you're family oriented, which is a big buzzword, maybe put a little bit more about that. Family oriented, I froze my eggs.
Right. And so, I mean, I think that you mentioned before, you know, and I kind of agree, like when you're on this swiping apps, like probably don't put that you froze your eggs.
I don't think people are going to read it.
Well, even if they do, I don't know if that's going to be to your advantage.
Correct.
But I'm sure you get the men that have done the swiping apps. They've done the match, and they're ready for the matchmaker. You know, they're ready to spend the money on the matchmaker.
Yeah. And that's stuff you and I have chatted about. Like, where are people meeting people these days? Where? You know, you're not hanging in a bar. You're barely bumping into people at a grocery store. You know, I mean, so it's either online, do it yourself, or hire a matchmaker who, like, the point is it's about network and timing. You know, I mean, and you can definitely timing, which is like a key theme between our two worlds, is timing.
Yeah.
You know, if somebody freezes their eggs, they have more time to then open up that dating pool, whether they're doing it on their own or hiring a matchmaker, either one.
Right.
You know, they're opening up their dating, their timing.
Right.
And then the network, you know, for me, matchmaking is all about networking and having the right person in the right place at the right time and connecting two people that should be connected.
Right. So do you feel like how do you feel? I have so many questions for you. Like how?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. First of all, let me just preface that my phone's about to die. I have to go get my charger, but I want you to answer this question while I go.
Good plan.
How has COVID affected dating? And do you think men are, and what have you seen in the trend in men going from the dating apps to making the transition from swiping to doing the match.com stuff to doing to finding a matchmaker or using your service? Like, and how, has there been a change of that with COVID and stuff?
Big time.
I'm gonna do it back, but
I got it, Libby. I got it, Dr. Libby. So yeah, to answer that question, dating during COVID-19 has been something obviously that you haven't seen before. Everybody's online, you know, and with everybody being online, that also means there's a lot of scammers online. There's a lot of, you know, the ghosting, the everything that you don't want to deal with in trying to find a genuine, real person. So once people are kind of sick of that, sick of online dating, they might speak to a matchmaker, whether it's me or somebody else. And what I've been doing, honestly, since March, I've been setting up people on Zoom happy hour dates, which, you know, it took some people a minute to get used to, but it's actually really fun. Dr. Libby, I'm telling people about Zoom happy hour dates.
Tell me about Zoom happy hour dates.
Right. So, it sounds kind of funny at first, like you're gonna meet somebody on Zoom for a date, but somebody I know just said online dating is the worst. That's hilarious. So basically, what I do is I set people up on these Zoom happy hour dates, which really, it's not a meeting. We've been on 50,000 Zoom meetings during, this COVID time period. This is a date. It's always 7 p.m. or after. It's a happy hour. I'm telling people to bring a drink if they want. at least water in a fancy glass, you know? I'm telling people to, I facilitate a really comfortable, I send out an email with a really comfortable, like some tips to talk about. I am not on that date, by the way. A lot of people want to know, are you on the date? No, I am not on the date. I set it up for people and I give them some talking points and I let them know, thank you, Laura in 2021. Thank you for telling me, thank you. So it's actually another screening point and I don't think it's going to go anywhere. Shana's prediction 2021 is that I don't think Zoom dates are really going to go anywhere because I think for the first date, people are still going to be a little cautious with their heart, with their time, with their health. And what people want to do is hop on a video platform, see if that person's real, see if they're who they say they are, see if there's a spark. And then after that, they're going to decide, do I want to put on lipstick and heels and meet this guy for a drink? I don't know. So this is the first screening point. And that's one thing about a matchmaker. That's something I do that you can't really get for online dating. I vet people in 3 different ways. So that's something different.
Yeah. Well, how do you vet people? What are the 3 ways?
I vet people by, they have to fill out a profile. That profile is complimentary. So if people are not 100% ready to hire a matchmaker, they could still be in my database with a complimentary and private profile, number 1. And that also
So what does that mean if they're in your database, your private database, and but they haven't paid any money? What does that mean?
That means that they might be an answer. They might be a match for one of my clients or for another matchmaker client in my network.
Okay.
So that's, it's like a possibility.
Then when you contact them and say, look, I have someone that's interested in you, then do they have to pay or?
I mean, different matchmakers have different methods, but what I do is that could be, if they're an answer to one of my clients, then they're an answer. And that's what the client wants is that love connection.
Yeah.
So, and that's how a lot of matchmakers do it. It could be database to client. It could be client to client.
Okay, cool.
There's so many methods. But wow, I was telling you something. I lost my train of thought.
3 ways that you vet people.
Thank you.
You said by their profile.
Thank you. So first I asked them to create a profile and that's private and it's only for me to see unless I'm communicating with another matchmaker. So that's one way of screening. Mm-hmm. I always do a screening call with every single person. I need to know who is this person. I'm not going to have a client trust me and I'm going to send them out with somebody not worth it. So that's another way. I do a little bit of internet research on my own. Yeah. And then I do work with a company that does background checks.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
So
cool.
Those are the safeguards that I take.
That's great.
Yeah.
So, okay. So can you give us any anecdotal stories of missed connections or male clients that make demands on, who they want when they miss out on great older women that have frozen their eggs or whatever?
Absolutely. So this happens where I might have somebody who has still stuck in their mind that they can only date somebody 10 years younger, And so there's misconnections all the time, but it takes, like I said before, a little bit of persuasion. Listen, that meme that floats around all over the place about what I actually do, what my friends think I do, what I'm doing, to paraphrase. So honestly, that's what I'm doing. It's not I'm not going on fancy jets and going out for cocktails all the time and having amazing parties and meeting people. I'm doing a lot of this groundwork on Zoom, and what I'm doing is really hardcore vetting, and then I'm presenting to clients. And when I'm presenting to them, I'm their biggest advocate. I get to know my clients really well, and I'm an advocate for them. So I need to educate people, and that's why this is super valuable for me too. I'm educating these men on maybe what they're missing out on, you know, like, what do you mean you don't want to go out with her? She's 37. She's amazing.
Yeah.
She's owns her own dental practice. She's, you know what I mean? And she froze her eggs. So, you know, grab her before somebody else does.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. So those misconnections are more about people just not understanding that people have more options. You're not just limited by, you know, somebody 10 years younger.
Yeah.
I see a question here. It looks interesting. Shana, do you have any clients out of the childbearing age that commonly want a family? Well, let's clarify that. Dr. Libby, what does that mean, out of the childbearing age?
Yeah, so I mean, you can carry a child. It depends on the clinic, but like, for example, with at Shady Grove Fertility, you can carry a baby up until the age of 51, as long as you use donor eggs after the age of 46. So up until 46, you can use your own eggs. And even after 46, if you have frozen eggs that were created before you were 46, you can use those. So you can literally carry the child until 51. And you can conceive spontaneously until you stop your periods, you know? So, and that's on average the age of 51 in the United States anyway. So, so do you have women that are older than 51? I would say that, I guess the question was, that want to have a family?
You know, I think I might have more now that this is becoming more popular and more widespread and more common knowledge. I think that's less. Yes, somebody said, wow, that's not what we've been made to believe. That is true. That is absolutely true. So, you know what? I envision this becoming even a greater topic amongst women of advanced age. Listen, when I had my kids in Israel, okay, which is a different situation altogether. Yeah. But even then, I was 33 and 35, and they treated me like I was 80. Like, seriously. Right. I'm like, I'm just 33 and then 35. But the terms, the geriatric pregnancy, you know, like the terms associated with carrying a child over 30, it's like, wow, I'm just 33. Yeah. Anyway, so do you have any, how do people feel when they're going through this process? How do you calm them down? How do you reassure them that these are all normal steps?
Yeah, I mean, I just tell them about my personal experience and about how common this is, you know. Being infertile or, you know, being single is a very anxiety provoking, you know, thing. And it's very nerve wracking to talk about this with anyone, especially like their doctor or whatever. But, you know, the fact that they've made the step to make the appointment with a physician and they're taking their fertility they are controlling their own fertility and their own reproductive potential and their own, you know, they're controlling their future children and the health of their children. I think that's the first step to being a good mom, to being a good partner, and to fulfilling their dreams. So I feel like that's probably the hardest step. And then once they're with us, then we can really decrease their anxiety by just letting them know that they're not alone. There's so many women out there and that they're in the right spot, you know? And you gain time back from from dating. So I feel like, anxiety, once you step into the clinic, it really, you know, we try our best to relieve that by letting you know that, you know, we're all here to support you and to ultimately help you achieve your goal of creating a family, whether that's with egg freezing or, you know, with IVF. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
And before you stepped away, we were talking a little bit about how COVID has changed things. So that's something, a commonality between what we both do. How has COVID changed this topic for you and patients?
Yeah, I mean, I think that actually this is a really good time to freeze your eggs because people aren't really dating very much right now, in person, as you know, being a matchmaker. So one of the hardest things that I went through freezing my eggs 4 times was that I was always going on dates at 6 p.m. when I had to do my injection.
Oh yeah.
And so I was like, it was that, you know, do I tell this guy that I'm going to inject myself because I'm super passionate about egg freezing? Or is it not a topic that I really want to bring up on my first date? Or even if he knows that I'm doing it, is it something that like may make him feel uncomfortable?
Yeah.
But so I think now is a great time to freeze your eggs because time is ticking and time is going by and dating is not as easy right now. So use this time to really freeze your eggs, maybe even to get in contact with a matchmaker that can do like all the grunt work that, you know, that isn't that like the vetting of all these people too. But I think freezing your eggs right now is an excellent time to do it. So I've seen a huge, I mean, I think all of the fertility clinics, everyone wants to have babies now. And if you're not able, if you don't have if you don't have a sperm donor, a husband, a boyfriend, or you're not ready to have a child right now, freezing your eggs is a great thing to do right now.
And we were, you know, even remember when we were trying to come up with some catchy, cool titles for this, and that really like plays into what we're talking about right now. It's like freeze your eggs to heat up your love life, like freeze your eggs for you know your a hot love life. With that said, I'm wondering a couple things. As you're going through that process, are you restricted from anything, or do you have to change your lifestyle in any way?
No, I mean, we just I like to tell my patients that you are creating your future children. So, you know, you should try to be as healthy as you can. Try to work out, try to not, you know, drink as much, like try to eliminate all of those things. You know, the recommendation is typically no coffee, no heavy exercise, no obviously no drugs, you know. But you know, you should just take care of yourself as best as you can during this time because these are your future children.
Are you noticing more
you can't do during this time, except we do recommend not having unprotected sex because you're growing a ton of eggs, and if you accidentally get pregnant and one of those sperm, or you know, 10 of those sperm make it out there, you could have 10 babies inside of you if you accidentally ovulate too early, which does not frequently happen. But if it happened, that would not be a good situation.
Wow.
So and in addition, your ovaries get larger as you're stimulating yourself with the medicines. So as they get larger, you're at increased risk of ovarian torsion, which can cut off the blood supply to your ovary. So we don't want you to do, sex is something that can like really move your ovaries around, and so can like a lot of physical exercise and stuff. So once you're, you know, I usually tell people after the first few days of injecting yourself, you'll feel a little bloated, and that's when you definitely want to cut out, you know, heavy exercise and stuff, and you want to continue that for like the week after.
Amazing. Wow. We have about 10 or so minutes left, and I know that we have some amazing Q&A. I think Anna said that, Anna from the JFF support. Thank you, Anna.
Yes, thank you, Anna.
And so we have a few questions.
Okay, let's
any
get to those.
of the questions that we can get to?
All right, we're ready for them.
We're ready, Anna. And then she also said, yeah, so we have about 10 minutes left. So is this something where, oh, here we go. Do I need to like look for the questions, or is she gonna, if you have a question, now's a great time.
I think she's gonna submit the questions to us, but for now, I'm just gonna scroll up. I see one. Why are the injections so expensive? This is becoming so common for women to do, but such a financial burden. Oh yeah, and I wanted to talk about the financial part. Will that ever change or get better and more affordable? Okay, great question, Britt Kaz. Okay, I am just as frustrated as you are about the cost of IVF, egg freezing, medications. It's insane. And most insurance companies don't cover this. Sometimes they do, so definitely inquire. But I think it is absolutely absurd, okay? I am all about increasing access to care. I have a global health degree, and I joined Shady Grove Fertility, and this is a little, but this is honest, swear to God, one of the reasons why I joined Shady Grove is because we really do increase access to care by making it more affordable than the other places around. But even with being the most affordable in Atlanta, and even in like most of the United States, it's still so expensive. It's insane. I don't know why the medications are so expensive. I wish I did know. And maybe we can work on like I mean, there's a lot of organizations that advocate for fertility. And, you know, Jewish Fertility Foundation gives a lot of financial support and grants and stuff that do help out. But we need, you know, more grants, and the grants I would like to start covering for egg freezing costs too. I don't know why the medications cost so much, but what I can say is that the financial packages, for example, at Shady Grove with regards to egg freezing. So let me just talk really quickly about that. Yeah. Every clinic is different. I recommend you getting, you know, wherever you live, getting multiple opinions for how much it costs. At Shady Grove, I can speak to them, and you can look online, like at Fertility IQ, that tells you about the places in your region, the clinics in your region, what the average egg freezing cost is. So, but I can tell you at Shady Grove, at least in Atlanta, it's the most competitive one. So we have a really cool package called Shared Risk that if you qualify for, we assure you a certain number of eggs. So let's say you're in that group that wants to assure that you get 20 eggs frozen, period. I don't care how many times it takes me, but I want 20 eggs. Well, it's going to cost you a lot of money if you need a lot of cycles. So what we have is this really cool package called the Assure 20 package, which will assure you 20 eggs up to 40 cycles, and you pay a flat fee. So what the first, and that fee is a lot less expensive than it would be for you to go through 4 cycles. Okay. So one round of egg freezing costs about $7,500. And every round after that at Shady Grove, that's at Shady Grove alone. And that does not include the price of medications, which is very expensive too. It costs between, which is insane. But the second round costs $7,000, and the next round $6,500. It goes down by 500 or so. Now, don't quote me on these numbers. It's pretty close. But like the Assure 20 program, you pay a flat fee of what I think is like $18,000 for 4 cycles of IVF. Okay, and it assures you 20 eggs. The Assure 30 program is up to 6 cycles of IVF, and it assures you 30 eggs, Assure 30. Okay. And that is a flat fee of $22,000. All of that is way cheaper than, like, if you need that many cycles to get that many eggs, you are getting a super good deal, even if you need more than 3 cycles. So it's a really amazing deal if you qualify for it. But even if you don't and you do the regular, like, you know, the first round is that certain amount, and the second round, it's still, Shady Grove does have the best pricing, but it's insane how much pricing for IVF and egg freezing is all over the country. I wish it was less expensive, but if you want to go for the most affordable but with the highest quality, I would definitely go with Shady Grove.
Somebody wants to know about, can the JFF grants go to someone who's single and looking to freeze eggs, or just if you're in a relationship and actively trying to get pregnant now?
Yeah, great question, made of fava. I am part of the JFF Medical Advisory Board as of a month and a half ago. This is my thing. I am working on this. We do not currently have grants that cover egg freezing, but I can assure you that if there's anyone you want on this board that's going to support that, it's going to be me. And I am doing everything I can to figure out a way so we can start fundraising for egg freezing grants. But currently they only cover women that are ready to, you know, that are in a relationship. Okay.
Dr. Libby, listen, what are you going to tell people? A lot of people are going to have very specific questions about their own body and their own eligibility. Please, and when I have a client too, and they might be interested, how do people find you? Where can they reach you? And what's the best way to ask their questions?
Okay, great question. So sorry if I didn't get to everyone's questions. I, again, am a fertility physician at Shady Grove Fertility. You can either message me through Instagram, or you can just make an appointment with me. Honestly, that's the best thing you can do for yourself right now. If you're interested in egg freezing, is make an appointment. Let's figure out where you are in your timeline. And you just you call Shady Grove Fertility. You can look online for our phone number and just make an appointment, 404-843-2229. And we'll get you in. And we'll talk about all about egg freezing. We'll get it done, and we'll make you feel good, and you'll be able to date again. And so, yeah, so my biggest takeaway is take control of your fertility. Let's spread the word to everyone we know, to let them know that this is very important. And let's take back the clock on the dating apps and the dating scene. Now, Shana, what is your takeaway and how can people get in touch with you if they want to use your services?
Yes, thank you. So I'm Shana Tibi, Tibi. My business is called Curated Connections. I am a certified matchmaker. You can find me on all social platforms, especially I'm pretty active on Facebook. And you can always email me or look for my website is shanaconnects.com. So you can look me up. I'm always responsive. What you can do also is have a complimentary consultation with me. I'll let you know all the options. I can let you know if you're more comfortable being a database member, or if you want to talk about, if you're like on 10 and you're like 2021 my year, I'm finding love. You can hire me and I do individual recruitment and I will find that person for you. Yay. So that you can feel comfortable to start your family. So my takeaway is, listen, this is a hot topic in matchmaking. I say, go now to Dr. Libby, run to Dr. Libby, and definitely get this assessment and see if you qualify and see if now's the right time, which it sounds like now is the right time. And honestly, like I said before, if it comes to apples and apples, I think if you have your eggs frozen, you will get that high caliber date as opposed to not having your eggs frozen.
Yay! I agree.
And I agree.
The good guys will love you for freezing your eggs. Okay. Be proud of it. Tell all your friends you're proud of it. Tell these these guys that it's something that we are proud of. And if they're not on board, then they're going to be left in the dust. And I think this is really cool because JFF just announced that they got second place in the Propel pitch, which is amazing. This like big grant that they've been applying for. So yay, JFF.
Good.
Anyways,
please record.
Yay.
We're here. Okay, Anna, little housekeeping. Please record.
That's it. All right. Thanks, y'all. If you have any questions, contact us. We loved being here today. It will be up and recorded on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube and stuff. Have a great night. And thank you, Shana. It was so awesome talking to you.
Thank you so much.
I can't believe I actually had a super public matchmaking consultation, but it was wonderful.
Awesome.
Thank you. And we will talk to y'all soon. Okay, bye.
Reach out. Bye.
Bye.